The most successful people I know are terrified of something you've been taught to worship. While you're protecting yourself from imaginary dangers, you're walking straight into the real one that destroys dreams. Your comfort zone is that invisible bubble where everything feels predictable, safe, manageable. It's where your morning coffee tastes the same every day, where you take the exact same route to work, and where Netflix suggests shows you'll definitely like because, well, they're just like the ones you've already watched. But here's the thing. Comfort zones aren't actually places. They're mental territories. Think about it. Your comfort zone at home might include your favorite chair, that worn-out sweater you refuse to throw away, and the ritual of checking your phone before getting out of bed. At work, it's sticking to tasks you've mastered, avoiding that intimidating project, and eating lunch with the same three people. Makes sense, right? These zones get built brick by brick through routines and habits. Every time you choose the familiar over the unknown, you're reinforcing the walls. Every time you say maybe tomorrow to something new, you're adding another layer of protection. Your brain loves this. It's efficient. Why waste energy figuring out new stuff when the old stuff works just fine? Well, because just fine has a sneaky downside. Living in your comfort zone means low stress. Sure, no sweaty palms before big presentations. No awkward small talk with strangers. No risk of spectacular failure or embarrassing moments that keep you awake at 3 in the morning. Your comfort zone is like having a personal bodyguard against life's uncertainties. The weird part is how good this feels in the moment. There's something deeply satisfying about knowing exactly what to expect. Your favorite restaurant will serve that dish you love. Your usual workout routine won't leave you gasping for air. Your established friend group won't surprise you with uncomfortable conversations about feelings or politics. Yet comfort zones aren't just about avoiding physical risks or new places. They're also about how you think, react, and see the world. Maybe you always assume you're not good enough for certain opportunities. Perhaps you automatically say no to invitations that seem too fancy or too different. Or you stick to the same types of books, movies, and conversations because they confirm what you already believe. These mental comfort zones can be the trickiest. They feel like personality traits rather than limitations. I'm just not a people person. Becomes a comfortable excuse to avoid networking events. I'm terrible with technology justifies never learning new skills that could boost your career. Here's what nobody talks about though. Your comfort zone isn't fixed. It's not some permanent feature of who you are. It's more like a muscle. Use it too much in the same way and it gets rigid. Challenge it regularly and it becomes stronger and more flexible. The question isn't whether you should have a comfort zone. Everyone needs that safe space to recharge and feel secure. The real question is whether your comfort zone is serving you or trapping you. And that's where things get interesting. Because what feels safe today might be slowly suffocating your future self. Your brain has a very simple job. Keep you alive. And honestly, it's pretty good at it. That's why your comfort zone feels like a warm hug from your favorite blanket. Everything makes sense there. You wake up, brush your teeth the same way, take the same route to work, order the same coffee. Your brain loves this predictability because it means less work and less worry. Makes sense, right? When you stick to familiar activities, you're using skills you've already mastered. It's like being a professional video game player who only plays one game. You know every move, every strategy, every shortcut. Success feels almost guaranteed because you've done it 1,000 times before. There's something deeply satisfying about crushing tasks you know you can handle. But here's the weird part. Your comfort zone isn't just about being lazy or avoiding hard work. It's actually a survival mechanism that's been keeping humans alive for thousands of years. Back when our ancestors were dodging saber-toothed tigers, the guy who wandered into unknown territory often became lunch. The cautious one who stuck to familiar hunting grounds. He lived to pass on his genes. Congratulations, you've inherited those careful, comfort-loving instincts. Fear and anxiety hit differently when you step outside what you know. Your heart races, your palms get sweaty, and suddenly that new salsa dancing class feels like climbing Mount Everest. Well, your brain is just doing its job, treating uncertainty like potential danger. It doesn't care that the threat is just learning the cha-cha. To your ancient wiring, unknown equals unsafe. Then there's the control factor. Inside your comfort zone, you're the master of your universe. You know which restaurant won't mess up your order, which friends will laugh at your jokes, which Netflix shows won't disappoint you. This sense of control feels incredible, especially when the rest of the world seems chaotic and unpredictable. Why risk failure or embarrassment when you can stay where you're already winning? Let's not forget that comfort zones serve as emotional pit stops. Life throws curveballs constantly. Job stress, relationship drama, family chaos. Your comfort zone becomes a safe harbor where you can recharge without dealing with more complexity. Sometimes you genuinely need that mental break. There's nothing wrong with binge watching your favorite show after a brutal week. The problem isn't that comfort zones feel good. They're supposed to. The real issue is what happens when that cozy feeling becomes a prison instead of a home base. Your brain's protective instincts, designed to keep you safe from real danger, start treating every new experience like a threat. That friendly survival mechanism begins working against you rather than for you. And the strangest thing, the longer you stay in your comfort zone, the smaller it actually becomes. What felt manageable last year might feel overwhelming now. Your world starts shrinking without you even noticing it happening. But what exactly happens when you never leave? The answer might surprise you. And it's not just about missing out on fun adventures. Here's the brutal truth nobody wants to talk about. Your comfort zone might be slowly killing your potential. Not literally, obviously. But what feels like a cozy blanket today becomes a straitjacket tomorrow. When you never challenge yourself, your brain basically goes on autopilot. Think about it, muscles that never get worked become weak and useless. Your mind works the same way. Skills you don't practice disappear, confidence you don't build crumbles. The longer you avoid trying new things, the scarier they become. Research from Harvard shows something fascinating yet terrifying. People who stay in extremely predictable routines for years often develop what psychologists call learned helplessness. They literally forget they can change their circumstances. Makes sense, right? If you never practice being brave, being scared becomes your default setting. But here's where it gets really depressing. A massive study following adults for 20 years found that 70% of people over 50 regret not taking more chances when they were younger. 70%, that's not a small group of cautious folks, that's most people walking around wishing they'd been braver. The weird part is how sneaky this process becomes. You don't wake up one morning suddenly afraid of everything. It happens gradually. First, you skip the party where you don't know many people, then you avoid applying for that interesting job because it seems too difficult. Before you know it, you're turning down opportunities left and right, telling yourself you're being realistic. Let's not forget what happens to your emotional life during all this. Boredom creeps in like fog. Everything feels gray and predictable. That spark of excitement you used to feel about possibilities, gone. Replaced by a dull acceptance that this is just how life works now. Then there's the friendship factor most people ignore. The most interesting people, the ones you actually want to spend time with, are usually the ones trying new things, taking risks, having adventures. When you're stuck in your bubble, you miss out on connecting with them. You end up surrounded by other people who are also playing it safe, creating this echo chamber of limitations. Studies from Stanford reveal something even more concerning. People who avoid challenges for extended periods actually become more anxious, not less. Their comfort zones don't just stop growing, they start shrinking. Activities that used to feel normal begin feeling overwhelming. It's like your courage muscle atrophies from lack of use, and the career implications, devastating. While you're staying comfortable, other people are building new skills, making connections, taking on projects that stretch them. They're becoming more valuable, more interesting, more capable. Meanwhile, you're becoming increasingly replaceable because you haven't grown in years. The most heartbreaking part is watching opportunities pass by. That person you wanted to talk to but didn't. The trip you almost booked but chickened out of. The creative project you never started because it felt too risky. But what if there was a way to push past these limitations without throwing yourself into complete chaos? What if growth didn't have to mean jumping off cliffs blindfolded? Here's something most people get backwards about comfort zones. They think stepping out means you have to do something terrifying, like skydiving or moving to a new country. Wrong. The magic happens when you push your boundaries just enough to feel that little spark of nervousness. Scientists actually proved this works better. The Yerkes-Dodson law shows that a small amount of stress, not panic, just mild discomfort, boosts your performance like rocket fuel. Too little stress, you're bored and sluggish. Too much, your brain freezes up. But that sweet spot in between, that's where you become unstoppable. Every time you try something slightly outside your comfort zone, your brain literally rewires itself. New neural pathways form, skills develop, confidence grows. It's like your comfort zone becomes a balloon that inflates bigger each time you stretch it. What once felt scary becomes normal, and suddenly you're ready for the next challenge. Let's not forget what happens to your toolkit of abilities. Each boundary you cross teaches you something new. Maybe you learn you're funnier than you thought when you finally speak up in a group. Perhaps you discover you can handle rejection better than expected when you apply for that job. These aren't just nice experiences. They're building blocks for a stronger version of yourself. The weird part is how this affects your relationship with failure. People who regularly push their boundaries develop something psychologists call resilience. When things go wrong, and they will, you bounce back faster. You've already proven to yourself that you can handle uncertainty. Setbacks stop feeling like disasters and start feeling like data points. But here's where it gets really interesting. Research shows that people who consistently challenge themselves report higher levels of life satisfaction than those who play it safe. Makes sense, right? When you're constantly growing and discovering new parts of yourself, life feels richer, more colorful, less predictable in the best possible way. Then there's the confidence factor. Real confidence doesn't come from telling yourself you're amazing while hiding in your room. It comes from evidence. Every small victory outside your comfort zone becomes proof that you can handle more than you thought. You start walking differently, speaking up more, taking on bigger challenges because you've built a track record of figuring things out. Well, there's also the opportunity cost of staying put. While you're avoiding discomfort, someone else is learning that new skill, making that connection, or discovering that passion. The gap widens every day. Not to scare you, but time doesn't pause while you decide whether to be brave. The most successful people aren't necessarily the smartest or most talented. They're the ones who got comfortable being uncomfortable. They turned boundary pushing into a habit, not a once-in-a-while event. And the best part, each step makes the next one easier. Growth builds momentum. But wait, before you think this means jumping into the deep end of every scary situation, there's actually a smarter way to do this. A way that lets you grow without overwhelming yourself completely. Here's the thing nobody tells you about leaving your comfort zone. You don't have to jump off a cliff to grow. The internet loves those dramatic stories about quitting your job to backpack across Asia. But real growth, that happens in much smaller, smarter ways. The growth zone sits right between your comfort zone and what psychologists call the panic zone. It's like Goldilocks finding the perfect porridge. Not too safe, not too scary, but just right for learning something new. When you're in this sweet spot, your heart might beat a little faster, but you're not paralyzed with fear. Take Sarah, a shy college student who wanted to make friends but froze up in social situations. Instead of forcing herself to throw a party, she started small. First week, she asked one classmate about homework. Week 2, she sat with different people at lunch. By month 3, she was organizing study groups. Each tiny step expanded what felt comfortable to her. But here's where most people mess up. They think growth means constant discomfort. Wrong. Your comfort zone should actually grow with you, like a rubber band that stretches but doesn't snap. Rest isn't the enemy of progress. It's fuel for your next adventure. Smart risk-taking involves 3 simple rules. First, start with stakes you can handle losing. Learning guitar won't ruin your life if you're terrible at it. Second, get support before you need it. Tell someone your goal. Accountability makes scary things less scary. Third, plan your backup plan. What happens if this new thing doesn't work out? Having an exit strategy makes entering easier. Let's not forget that failure is just data, not a death sentence. Thomas Edison didn't see 1,000 failed light bulb attempts as failures. He saw them as 1,000 ways that didn't work. Each mistake taught him something valuable about what would work. The weird part is how quickly your brain adapts to new normal. Remember learning to drive? Terrifying at first, right? Now you probably do it while thinking about dinner plans. That's your comfort zone expanding in real time. What once felt impossible becomes Tuesday. Then there's the compound effect of small challenges. Like interest in a bank account, each small step outside your comfort zone earns you confidence dividends. That confidence makes the next step easier, which builds more confidence, which makes even bigger steps possible. It's a beautiful cycle that feeds itself. Some people think they need to choose between safety and growth, but that's false logic. The smartest approach combines both. Create a home base that feels secure, then venture out on small expeditions. Mountain climbers don't abandon base camp. They use it to prepare for each new altitude. The magic happens when you realize your comfort zone isn't a prison. It's a launching pad. Each time you return from a growth experience, you bring back new skills, stories, and confidence. Your safe space becomes richer, more interesting, and surprisingly, even more comfortable. Your future self is waiting just outside your current boundaries, ready to show you what's possible when fear stops making all your decisions.